Hello, everybody. How are you? I am your host for today's training in the marketing module for Stova. My name is Laura Rutherford, and I work out of the Office of University Events and Protocol, along with my team members who are your ASU account admins for Stova. Today, we're going to be looking at the marketing module. And why are we here, you ask? Well, let me tell you. The marketing module is a really effective tool to help you run email marketing campaigns for promoting your events. Basically, that means you can create, at the very least, an invitation for your event and then actually connect it to your registration page. And so when you're looking at reports and you're looking at numbers and trying to manage your event, it makes it much easier to use the Stova marketing module. Now there are other things you can do with the marketing module, but primarily today we're going to be talking about how to build an invitation and how to build the mailing lists. So here's the agenda for today. We'll be going through mailing lists. We'll be looking at HTML emails, how to link them to the registration sites. We'll be scheduling the email delivery of your invitations, and then we'll be looking at reporting and analytics. Now, what is out of the scope of today's training is we will not be talking specifically about HTML or CSS. We won't be talking about the industry standards of HTML email design or ASU branding standards. Now, the resources for this are on this page. And just to reassure you, we will be recording this training. And then after it's done rendering and we've had a chance to load it up to YouTube, etc., we'll send you an email tomorrow and you'll be able to look at it, including this slide with all of the resources for the out of scope topics. So let's begin. Now I'm going to be getting into the Stova just as usual. We're logging in through our Stova support site, putting in my ASU right, and now we're good. So as you may have noticed, we have popped into our training site, which is the College of Really Cool Ideas. And to get into the marketing module, we're going to go up to the left-hand side and look at those three hot pink, might read like red on your screen, which we call the hamburger. That opens our navigation panel. And then we're going to come down to marketing and we're going to start with create mailing list. Now, this is really pretty much the only time in Stova training that we're going to suggest that you click on one of the topics that start with the word create instead of view. Most of the time we have templates that you'll want to use, and those can be accessed by clicking the views instead of the creates. But this time, since when you're creating a mailing list, you really don't need a template, we're just going to go ahead and click on that. Now we need to name our list. We're going to call it the marketing module test list. We've already got it in the really cool ideas. That's exactly where I want it. And I'm going to click submit. Okay, so now we've named it. The status is active. Now we're going to link it to an event. Now I'm going to link it to one of the essential classes that we've taken, which is the, let's try ins and outs, Dean's receptions. Let's look at this one. Okay. So we've connected it to the welcome new director ins and outs. Okay. And that means that as we move forward, that this invitation will be linked to that event. Now, if you're sending an invitation or a newsletter or a letter, it does not necessarily have to be linked to an event. But if you're doing a registration page, this stage or this piece is very important. Now, if you've linked it to an incorrect event, like, oh, wait, no, that was last year's. I need to link it to this year's. Just click the change event and it'll bring up your possibilities again, and you can select the correct event. Now, as always, I'm going to click save and stay because you can't really do that enough. Okay, so we've pretty much completed this page. If you need to make some notes, you can here. This is not forward facing. This is just for you to make some internal notes to help you as you move forward. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to manage my subscribers. Now you have a couple ways of doing this. You can add a subscriber individually. For example, we're going to go ahead and use me. So if you just have a few people you need to add, you can add them this way, onesie twosie. I'm going to save and exit. And now there I am. Okay. Now, here's a quick note and a pro tip, as my friend Steve would say. Do make sure that when you are putting together a marketing, mailing list, that you include a test list that just has yourself and maybe one or two people on your crew that you're going to trust to test the process of receiving the invitation, clicking the buttons, making sure that you move forward to the registration site, etc. That way you can test the entire thing. And there's one or two places where using the actual mailing list is required for a complete test of your marketing email. Okay. So how else can we add folks? Well, we can do this. We can import data. All right. I'm going to choose a file. And now I've gone ahead and I've got a sample list that we've created just for this. I've got everything that I want, and I'm going to click upload. Now we sort of have to map the field. Now this list came with a whole bunch of information. All the mailing list actually requires, technically, is an email address. However, I'm telling you, don't fall into that trap. Make sure that when you're putting these lists together, that you map at least the first name, the last name, as well as the email list. Why is that? Because if something goes wrong, someone says they didn't get an email, they didn't, maybe they got 2 emails, it's very difficult to try to find them via their email address. It's much easier to look by their last name, and also to check for duplicates. It's much easier to look for their last name because you may have this set not to have duplicates, but if I put in 2 or 3 emails under my name, because I could have, as you know, many emails. So in order to check for duplicates or check for issues, I do strongly suggest that you map first name, last name, as well as the email list. So here's the first name. I'm going to map it just like that. Last name, like that. I'm going to come down and look for the email. And there's the email address, which is required. None of the rest of this is required. Now, if you want to map the rest of these things, if it's helpful for you as you're moving forward, you're welcome to do that. I would just say that these 3 items are the most necessary as you move forward. So now I'm going to import the data. Now it's very important, especially if you have a long list, that you wait all the way through until this finishes, this yellow line goes all the way through. And it says completed before you close this window. If you stop it midway, it will actually delete everything that is done so far, and it won't import anything. The other thing is at the end of this process, if there was some problem with your list, for example, if they had unsubscribed, if it was a bad email, perhaps you got an Excel list that had an incomplete email, they would the system checks, and all of those problems would show up here in red. And what I usually do is I usually copy and paste that into another document so that I can do my research and figure out what's gone wrong, because once you close this window, you can't find those problems again. Since we don't have any, I'll go ahead and close this. Now you see we have all of our folks have loaded. Excellent. Okay. So now we have our marketing module test list. Now, once we have sent the email, if you click email sent, for example, you may have one mailing list linked to multiple events, or maybe it's linked to emails that you're sending out, like a newsletter, or maybe an informational letter that you're sending out. This list will tell you, or this report will tell you all of the emails that this particular marketing list has been sent to, okay? So it gives you a kind of an overview here, all right? So once this is sent, we could come back and look and it'll show you that we sent it to that particular event. Okay. So there we are. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to go back to list details, right? We've sent all of that. That's excellent. Now we've got to go ahead and create our email. Let me check. A couple of other, before we do that, sorry, I'm looking at a list. I'm in a whole new text setup, guys, so please bear with me as I try to figure out where I'm supposed to look next to look at my page. So here we are. There's a couple of things also in the manage subscribers that you can do. You can go in and take a look at them, at the individual. So if you look at me, you will see that I am connected to multiple lists, okay? Now, some of these I don't have permission to look at because they're in other people's marketing lists, okay? The ones I do have permission to look at are in here, okay? You can see that I'm in this list, which is the one we just created. I'm in one called Invite New Director. These are previous classes that I've taught, okay? That I can, if I was so inclined, all right, I could come back up here. It's not going to let me do that. But if I wanted to unsubscribe specifically from this invite, I could, and I could click decline from events. Now see from here, here are all the events I've been invited to, okay? So if you're looking at somebody's history, this is one way to look at it. All the way down at the bottom, here we go. I'm really not this popular. Most of these have involved testing, okay? So here we could go and I could decide that I want to decline from here. I want to decline from here. Okay, so that's one way to manage your subscribers, okay? I could register for events, okay? Same thing, all right? If I was looking at this, I could come here and I could register straight through there. So if you're talking to somebody on the phone and they're saying, oh, can you just register me? You could go to that list and you could just register them for that exactly. Now, obviously, this particular event has closed, so that's not going to let me do it, but it kind of gives you an idea of how that would work. Okay, so don't be afraid to create a test mailing list and to come in here and see what all of these things will do. Okay, now if I also, here's another thing, if you get something that says, oh, I didn't get that email, find out what email their preference is. Maybe Laura R was not the preferred email. Maybe you need to put in a different email, and you can do that without changing the first and last name, without creating a duplicate. Instead, you can just come in here and edit this email, and now you know that they are getting their preferred email for this invitation. If I've made any changes, I'm going to want to click Save and Stay. I don't care about the changes I've made, so I'm going to just go ahead and exit out of this. Okay. Now, if you need to export this for a report to show, maybe your director or some supervisor, hey, this is the list that I put together. Maybe you had to combine multiple mailing lists, which happens to me all the time. And so exporting one big list here to show them all the different names that were created, that's a super helpful field as well. And when you click that, it's super easy to use. You just have to select your format, export, and there it is. Okay. So you can send this off to your supervisor and let them know, yep, this is everybody that I emailed. Super easy to use. Okay. So now let's move on to actually creating your invitation. Come back over to the hamburger again. And this time we're going to come down to marketing and we're going to view all emails. Remember, the views generally hold our marketing templates. All right. We like our marketing templates. So we're going to do a new marketing email. All right. And we're going to make sure. Here's our system input. We want to clone this. All right. We're going to name it. Invite to new director reception. We're going to link it to the event, which was, let's see, new director, I think, ins and outs. All right, so that's the one. Okay. And the subject line. So this, you want to grab their attention. I generally do something like, you are invited. And then I put the name of the event that they're invited to. New director reception. Okay. So it would be helpful if I could spell. There we go. So you really want it, because remember, this is marketing. So you want it to be punchy. You want it to tell them why they should open this email and the hundreds of emails that they're getting. So you really want to make sure that your subject line is something that will grab their attention. Okay. Now they're from email, and this is very important. You want to make sure that it belongs to someone, whereas think of it this way, if you get an email and it was not expected, you want the from email to say someone that you are familiar with, right? You want it to come from a department that you find respectable, or an email address that may not be phishing. So it's really important to pick, especially I think in invitation emails, either a person of high stature at the university or a department. So here we're going to say we have a quick, this is the really cool ideas. All right, college of really cool ideas. And see that a.asu.edu, just like in an event email on the registration page, you do need this little extra A, which is called DMARC, which is part of the enterprise technologies sort of security rules to show ASU email that this is a safe third-party system to receive emails from, okay? Now, you cannot move forward with an email address in the from field that does not have that little extra A, okay? I want this to come from, I'm going to call this Dean McGillivray. Okay, Steve, you've been promoted. Now, unlike the from email, you do not need that little extra A in the reply to email. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just do this. Now, gosh, you don't want Dean McGillivray to get those reply emails, so maybe you want them to send them to you. So I'll go ahead and put my name in there. All right. Now, all this information looks good to me, so I want to save and stay. Okay. Again, internal notes. If you're not sure what one of these fields is for, if you hover over the blue, it will tell you. Okay. Just like if you come up here, all right, this will tell you a few things about what you're working on as well. When was it created? What was it cloned from, etc. Okay, so I'm gonna click save and stay one more time. All right, we've got our content is next. Okay, here's our college of really cool ideas. Now, I like this picture, so I'm not going to change this graphic, but if you need to work on how to do graphics, if you are signed in to our support site, the stova.asu.edu, and you come over here to the user guide, okay, all kinds of really useful information can be found in either the how-to or the user guide, okay? Just don't forget, like, how to change the ASU logo, how to add an image, all right? So a lot of how-tos are in this help. So I'm not going to get in too much on how to do graphic management. All right. What do we have? All right. So here we have the invite. And Steve, is it possible I clicked the wrong template?
Sure. Did you click the invite or the just the basic email? This looks like the, I'm not sure what this looks like.
Yeah.
Could you start over again from the?
I will. Okay, folks, sorry. Let me try that again. I'm going to view all emails.
Did you start from a template?
I thought I did.
The right column of template folders is not displayed, is why I ask.
Yeah, I see that now. I just looked at some system at template and moved forward.
Yeah. So on the left-hand column, click the plus sign to open up, just like you do in registration module. So you show the other 01 templates folder.
See, sometimes, folks. My apologies. Okay, I told you, new technology, my head is buzzing. All right. Well, you get a little, one more time with feeling. Okay, so as a reminder, when you get into your folders, anything that has a little plus sign, and let me show you again, you're gonna click that little plus sign, and then everything that is available, including the template folder, will show you what's available to you. And this is the template folder, and this is what I should have cloned. My deepest apologies, but you're just gonna get it twice. So here we are, we have two templates, okay, which should have clued me in the first place. We have the invitation template and the basic email template. So the invitation template is what we want, and that's what we're going to clone. I'm going to go very quickly through this. Okay. This is the invitation to the new director. And this to new director. ins and outs. Okay, and this is the one we're using. Okay. Subject line, again, you want to make it super pithy. And we don't need that little extra A because this is the from. Send it to me. All right. And go back to content, which is where we were at. Ta-da. Yes, looks much better. Okay. Now, here we have the logo, which you can change. Again, I would ask you to go back to the Stova help page. That will tell you how to change this graphic out. Okay, we're going to call this, all those really cool ideas. All right. We wanted to change this picture out. I'm just going to very briefly tell you that you go to the little picture icon up in the toolbar. Okay, you can browse your server. Okay, and I am going to look for, I'm just going to use this. Make this 600. All right, so that's not the name of our event, but that just shows you how easy it is to insert a graphic. All right. Now, this will pull, once this is linked, this will pull from the actual registration site. And remember, we linked it in the details to an actual existing registration site. It will pull all this information from the registration site to the actual invitation, which is one of the ways it makes it so handy to pair both the the marketing module with the registration module. Okay, so since we've got that already done, what we're going to do now is we're going to come in here. We're going to take out all of that Latin that we have as a placeholder, and we're going to say we are really looking forward to seeing you at the reception. And then I'm going to say thanks, the event team. Obviously, whatever other details that you want to put in here, this is where you want to put them. Okay, so as you're moving forward, let me tell you a couple of sort of tricks as you're moving through. If you need to add, let's say, a different merge function, okay? Maybe there's an additional, with the event location, you want to make sure that also we put in an address line or a city, all right? So in order to get that placed, you want to put your cursor right next to the merge code, all right? And you want to hit Shift Return so that it lines up right next and doesn't give you that extra return space, okay? If I had just hit Return, it would give me an extra space. Nothing more frustrated as I'm going through here than trying to get this to align, all right? So let's go into my merge fields, and I'm going to Control F. And get into name, location, event city.
It's Command F on a Mac.
Thank you. I figured you'd pop in. One of the other Steve finally has me on a Mac, people. All right. And I'm gonna put it up here.
You deserve the best, Laura.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Okay. Now you want the Control V. So do I do Control V there or Command V to paste it? Command V.
It's always Command.
Okay. All right, so I've added my extra merge code and now I'm good to go. It looks just the way I want to. Now, a couple of notes. Obviously, this does not automatically filled because it is not actually a merge code. All right, so we want to RSVP, let's say by, let's say this event is on December 1st. So I want to say that this is going to be done by Tuesday. November 28th, 2023. Okay. All right. Now this contact information will pull from the registration page. So that will be all done. And as we keep scrolling, we come down here. All right. Now, unlike your event emails, the footer does not automatically pull from your registration page. Unfortunately, there's not a way to make it do that. So you do have to come down here and either decide you don't need this footer information or you need to actually add it manually, okay? Just come down here. As you can see, super easy to do. All right. And if you don't want to put an address in there, you can just delete this. Okay. Delete that too. All right. So now if this looks just the way you like it and you're good to go. All right. So here's one of those situations. If I wanted to see how this looked, I could send myself a test email. And that's super handy as you're working in the document. You just need to take a quick look to see how it's looking, to see what you've forgotten. And you can send it and your email will receive it. You open it and it'll look like most of the people on campus will get it, okay? However, when you receive that email, okay, and then you go to click on the buttons, the active buttons, anything that is linked in here should work just fine with no problem. The click to RSVP button should work no problem using this send test email. What will not work is the decline invitation here, okay? Even though this event has been linked to your registration page, for some reason, Stova decided that you needed to actually send this via mailing list before you would be able to test the decline invitation, okay? So what I usually do, especially if I'm working with a committee, and I often am, is I will put together the mailing list for this event in 2 stages. The first stage is my test list, all right? And I name it what I'm gonna name the mailing list, all right? I put myself on there. I put the members of my committee so that they can see how it's gonna look. And then I use that invitation list to add the actual attendees to later. And it's super easy to do that. And when we go back through, you just import your lists one after another, and they will load very easily, okay? But this is why you must have a test invitation page or mailing list to be able to test all the functions that you have on your invitation, okay? Now, if I had put in a link up here to a map, that would test just fine here on the send test email. The big issue it has is testing the decline invitation, okay? So it's really important to be able to fill that out, okay? So now this looks just the way I want it, okay? I've got all the information here. And let me also give you a couple of pieces of advice that I've learned the hard way. Especially if you're working with a committee, you are often urged to put all kinds of extra information into your invitation, which is great. I mean, people are excited. They want everybody to know all the bells and whistles of either the event or the location or some piece of history that you'll be celebrating. And you can see why they would want you to add all that information. What we have found is that people don't read, all right? So you want to keep it as simple as you can get away with, right? As few links as you can get away with. Add all of that information into your confirmation email, where once they receive it, they can look at all the history. They can have all the links to all the sites, because if you put it here and they click on a link, there's no guarantee they will come back to this invitation and continue to actually register. So again, I really urge you to keep this as simple as possible and put all of the additional information either on a website that you have for your department or in the confirmation email, okay? And remember, we have two kinds of emails. We have the marketing emails, which are emails that you send to a specific mailing list that may or may not have anything to do with an event. And then you have the event emails, which only go to the individuals that have actually registered for your event. One is in the marketing module and one is in the actual registration module. So the marketing emails, like the invites, obviously in the marketing module. The event emails are in the registration module, okay? So now that we've got this looking just the way I want to, and I've talked to you about testing, let me then also tell you about how we are going to manage your actual sending of this event, okay? Let me look at my list. All right, so we've done details, gone to content. Now we want to send it. Okay. Oh, it's warning me. So let me make sure I have saved and stayed. It's all still there. Yes, cool. Now it should not have any problems with me going to send. All right. So we want to send this to the module. Marketing module test list. Okay. Now, here is where we've selected the email. All right. You have this opportunity. You could just send it like this. It's the first time you sent it out. There shouldn't be any issues. All right. You can apply the filters, and what you should get is 22 people that are ready for that event. Okay. But what if you need to add some filtration? Okay. We can automatically exclude anyone on this list who's already registered or declined for that event. All right. Does that change anything? Nope, it doesn't change anything. Probably wouldn't, because again, this is the first time we're sending this particular list out. All right. If you want to add additional people to your mailing list, which if any of you have done big events, you know this happens, where someone will come to you and says, oh, we just found these 20 very important people that need to be invited to this event. And they give you those 20 names and you add it to the list. All right, maybe you just sent this list out yesterday. You don't want to send it to everybody again to make sure that these 20 people get it. All right, what you can do is you can say, please automatically exclude any subscribers added to the mailing list before a specified date and time. So if I sent this email yesterday to my 22 folks, and I've just added another 20, then I would come in here and I would say, yep, I only wanted to go to the 20. So I'm going to say anything that was added after 17, which is today, and after or before, and I usually pick a time to give myself lots of room, 12, let's say 12 noon, okay? So anybody who was added to the mailing list before this date will not get this next mailing blast, all right? And if I applied the filters and if I had added an additional group of people, it would then say 20, all right? Since I've not actually added anybody, it's not going to do that since I haven't actually sent this, all right? But these are all tools that you can use, all filters that you can use that are very valuable, okay? I'm not sure why you would want to exclude contacts who have already registered for an event in my account, but if that's applicable to you, that's a filter available to you. Now, sometimes what happens to me is, especially with our deans and some of our vice presidents, I will hear from their admins who said, Dean so-and-so did not get that invitation. Can you resend it? Sure. I'm going to select a filter. I'm going to send it to their email address. I'm going to say equal to, okay? And then I'm going to pick an email address. All right. So now if I apply this filter, my subscribers go down to 1 because I've said I only want this to go to 1 person. Or maybe they come back and say, you know, Laura didn't get this, the dean didn't get this, and so and so. You can keep adding filters till you just send it to the group that you need to. All right. I'm going to go ahead and dump that because I'm not actually going to do that. So these are all the filters that you have available for you to use as you're sending out multiple layers of invitations. And the more complicated your event, the more likely you are to have to use these, all right? I'm especially fond of the automatically exclude and these two automatically excludes. That way, if you send out a reminder email, all right, everybody who's already registered for the event, whether they've declined or registered, will not get an additional email. Now that only works if they've only sent in 1 email address. Now, if Steve McGillivray has given me 4 email addresses and only declined on 1 of them, those other 3 email addresses will get an invitation because this is all based on email addresses, right? That's the only completely individual way to really identify somebody, right? Because lots of us have the same names. So supposing we've applied all of our filters, okay? Apply filters, we should be back to 22, okay? I'm gonna come down here. Now I want to send this out. I'm gonna send it tomorrow. I'm gonna send it at 10 o'clock, just like this. All right, I want it to be AM. So this is now going to be sent out at 10 a.m. My event is actually in Arizona, so that's the time zone I want the system to use for as they're sending out my emails. But you don't have to. If your event is taking place somewhere else in any of these other time zone locations, and sometimes we do these with Eventry, or I'm sorry, with Stova in other places. We've had events in Thailand, we've had events in London, we've had events really everywhere around the world. You want to use the best practices to use the time zone, the physical location of your actual event. Okay, So now I've used the Arizona time zone. I've picked my date and my time. I'm going to schedule the email. Okay. So if I come down here, you can see that my marketing module test list, okay, will be sent to all 22 people, and it's scheduled for tomorrow at 10 a.m. Now, you see over here, you have both a delete and you have an edit, all right? You can come in here and smoosh the time. You can decide, oh, nope, I've got a multiple big list that I've got to change now. I don't want to send this yet. You can delete it, and you can do that all the way until 9:59 a.m. tomorrow. At 10 a.m., it's too late. There is no actual way to recall invitations or emails from the system after the scheduled time, okay? So that's why I always like to give myself just a little extra time. If this needed to go out today, I'd give myself a half an hour just to be sure that I had rechecked everything so I could sort of wring my hands a little bit as before I sent this email out, and recheck things, okay? I find that to be my own paranoid pro tip for you. Give yourself a little extra time to just double check and make sure you're good to go before you schedule it. If you're completely sure, if you feel really good about it, you can mark it for date and time for right then. Like, you don't have to wait. I could have changed the date and time for this, right? I can delete this one. Yep, I want to get rid of it. And I could have just marked this date, could have marked this time. No, except for the PM. And I could schedule the email, which I'm not going to do because then it would actually go out to everybody. Okay. What I can do is I'm going to go ahead and select the filter for me so that you can see what the reporting looks like once it goes out. So I'm going to select the email address. Okay. Apply the filters. Oh, I've got to subscribe. Okay. Okay. And if you want to make sure that you have the right person, you can view the list right here and my name would pop up. I'm not going to do that, but it's super handy if you just want to double check things. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and schedule this for me to receive this email. If we come down here, okay, and it's scheduled, it'll take just a second. I refresh the page, still scheduled. It'll take a minute. But once it goes, you can come up to the reporting, okay? Once it goes, this will automatically fill with all kinds of great information. If any of those emails bounce, you can click the bounce and it will give you your very own report that you can then share with your committee or with whoever gave you the list so that they can make corrections, unless of course that's your job. The declined will tell you how many people have clicked declined, how many have responded, if anybody unsubscribes, the date and time it was sent, and how many people it was sent to. All of these things actually give you their very own reports. There. Now it is sent. All right. So you can see that we sent this to one person. If I click on that, it'll tell you who. Me. All right. So go back. All right. This list would tell you what the whole list was, all the people. If I had unsubscribed, this would say a number. All right. Sometimes this will tell you if the system is having some trouble viewing it. So if you sent it to me and all of a sudden it says it's opened unique views, it's been opened 100 times, then you know that their system is struggling with your email and you might want to contact them and let them know that they should take a look maybe in their junk email. Okay. So it tells you that I have not responded. If I did either decline or responded, these numbers would change. You get all kinds of great details here. All right. It went out at 100% delivered, and then all the spikes of people opening. So it gives you a really nice dynamic report. One of my favorite things about the marketing module is this report, and I cannot tell you how often it has saved my skin when someone has said to me, gosh, I never got that email, and I can come up here to the unique views and say, yes, you did, and you opened it, or yes, it shows that I sent it to you, but it looks like you bounced, or it looks like you responded and you declined, right? This is a very quick way for me to come in and take a look at that email. Now, I also promised that once we got into that now I'm in that marketing test list and we look at the email sent. Now you can see that that particular email list has been sent for this event. Now, if I sent this email to this event and maybe to another event, and maybe I sent a newsletter or an informational email, all of those would list here. Okay. All right. Look at my information. All right, I think I've gone through everything. Steve, have I missed anything?
I think just mentioning how you can go to your registration site and see the RSVP report, which will tell you, because now that you've got an event linked to an email, you can then look at this report inside your registration site to see, no, it's under reports and functions.
Oh, yep.
I think it's the RSVP invite list. So this is keeping track of who's been invited and how they've if they've responded or not. You can see the registration status, for example, that someone has. You have a confirmed registration, but you have a no response. So this is a sort of a one-stop shop for looking at how those invites have penetrated the registration. That's the only other report I can think connected to the marketing module.
So, folks, that's sort of the end of the training session, but we are available for all the questions. So please feel free to either ask in chat or to unmute and ask in person. And thank you, by the way, for standing with me as I figure out my new technology. And one of the things we want to point out is that we do have lots of support opportunities for you moving forward. If you don't want to ask a question today, there's the local support. That would be me, Steve, and Marissa. And you can reach us either in the Slack channel or you can go to that website that we talked about, right, which is the stova.asu.edu site. Lots of helpful information. You can email us at stova@asu.edu, and we're always available for office hour appointments or consultations. Happy to look over everything so that you can see what we've maybe if you've got an invitation or a registration site that's super complicated, or even if you're just beginning and you want us to take a look, we're happy to do that for you. Just get a hold of us in one of those manners. But Steve, Marissa, and I, we do work for the university and not for Stova itself. And so we do actually take weekends off. So if you need some support when we're not available, or sometimes actually we'll direct you to support from the vendor because it's something out of our scope, You can contact them using the support button, which you reach by going over to that hamburger and clicking it, and down at the bottom of that navigation page, you'll find that lovely little support button, which is those hearts. It says support. You can contact them via email, support@stova.io. You can go to the website where there are docs and videos, which is that support button that I just talked about. The phone numbers are there to call, 1-800 numbers. You can also click a chat, which will pop up in the lower right-hand corner of those pages. And there's also some on-demand videos that you can sign up for. But we find that most people either chat or use the email to ask their questions. Steve, Marissa, and I do monitor the help desk questions just so that we know what kind of training needs, or if you ask a question that is more issue related rather than Stova related, we'll pop in there and give you the support that we can. Any other questions, guys? Well, that being given, we'll go ahead and give you just a little time back to your day and say thank you for joining us and putting up with my my little technical fun that I've had today. Hope you all have a great day, and we'll see you the next time.